We had a couple more. Did you see? One second. Did you see the comment he made about you?
No, no, I don't pay much attention to comments. Let me just. I'm going to hit record, right, and I'm going to just explain what's going on. So basically, what's
Okay,
going on is,
that's fine.
I've just finished doing my little recording of Tim Osman, and I'll be honest, I haven't put a great deal of effort into it. So, nevertheless, so John's called and I've explained what I've done. I haven't actually got to playing my video with the little time hacks. But from what I understand, John's gone through it and identified every single logical fallacy in what Tim's done, and he's averaging a logical fallacy a minute, which I think's great. But we're going to see how. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm more than happy for you to go through them. We'll listen to them one at a time.
Now, I'm not going to go through every single fallacy, but there's 88 fallacies, and from a self-purported genius. He said somebody asked a question on uh, why he was wasting his time on Ranties, being a genius that he is. I don't know if that person wrote it, but that's what he said over the stream. So I counted 88 fallacies. So there is at least 88 fallacies that he committed during the presentation, no less than. And I categorized them mainly from. I kind of did this sort of in a not half-assed, but it's I kind of chopped it up. I went from. I first started. It was late. Hold on one second. Right here, 128.12. For whatever reason, I started there. I can't remember. So I did from 128.12 to what was the last one? 135.25. So, and then I went back and I started at the beginning and then categorized the rest of them, the rest of the fallacies. So, like I said, there was I totaled them all up. There was 88 fallacies. And these are the categories: reification, baseless assertions, non sequiturs, intent, motive fallacies, straw man, stereotype, ad homs, begging the question fallacy, and genetic fallacies. The ad homs and the baseless assertions were running neck to neck for some time, but it seemed like the baseless assertions pulled it out at the end. So it's roughly a fallacy a minute, somewhere real close to that for the time that he spoke, not the whole time of the video. So, and there's all the categories. I went ahead and timed it all out. So, if anyone needs these, if we need to support all these fallacies, that's no problem. I got them time hacked. We can go through them too. It's just surface stuff. The next one, a couple new ones that I didn't hear before was you can't troll a pro troll. So, it begs the question, why are we even entertaining a presentation from a self-admitted pro troll? I mean, why would we do that? Why would anyone do that? I mean, you hammered the C4 fire and bashed your own head in with the shovel right from the start. So the 126.05 from Timmy. Okay, so I mean, I could do sticks in the ground. I could do all that kind of stuff, but at a certain point, a presupposition actually turns into something that's proven in knowledge. And the only reason why that person actually saying presupposition is because I was the one that taught that to fucking Nathan Oakley. So he started using a lot of that stuff I said against the Glover. So, number one, so a presupposition turns into proven and knowledge. When is this like a time standard? Is it qualitative or quantitative? A time standard? What? Just by magic? Who knows? And I thought you'd like this, Nathan. He taught you presuppositions, dude.
Yeah, did he bollocks?
So I wanted to leave that one for you. Ironically, Ranty's picture of 18 miles at 1 foot short of shore in the background implode Timmy Clown's entire argument, right? While he's answering questions, he's got that picture behind him, right? He's got that while he's answering the questions about how it's a sphere Earth, right? His picture's behind him. It's the irony is just as thick as molasses, right? I mean, these pictures right here, or these photographs, pummel his entire argument right from get go. So I thought it was quite funny to, you know, to have his picture back here. I don't know if anyone else caught that, but my word, people.
Cool.
So, how does XYZ Cartesian coordinates prove the Earth's curvature? That's what I want to know. I mean, he said it like 3 or 4 times. I'm still wondering why. At 1:18:22, he says, "Why is it not the Earth curving?" Timmy, did you forget what your presentation was about, window liquor? It's not our job to refute something you haven't proven, aka a just so story. Duh. And this one's classic. At 1:25:09, you guys need to come up with a flat Earth curve calculator. I mean, married bachelors are blushing. Flat Earth curve? Really? That's quite interesting. I'd like to see that. Clown. 3715. I saw about 12 to 19 different satellites it was using, from Russian satellites like GLONASS and even American GPS satellites. Oh, really? You saw them? You didn't show them. We want to see the satellites you saw, right? You said you saw them. Can you share that with us? Oh, and I copied that last one over again where he took credit for, I guess, teaching you presupposition. It's a presupposition class. 3904, Walter Bislin, the genius here. That's what he said, right? Yeah. The genius that deletes entire threads when his science and intellectual acumen gets compromised. I caught him in a thread. I think it was Taboo Conspiracy. But 6 or 8 months ago, he just posted an opening post, an OP, like 2 minutes earlier, and someone directed me to Taboo Conspiracy's video for something. I can't even remember what it was. And I seen Walter Bislin there. So he wrote a post, and I went ahead and responded. He didn't have any clue of the scientific method whatsoever. And I exposed him in one post. All right. And a couple other people went in there and started posting, laughing at him. I go back like an hour later. It was like after dinner. I'm searching for my post. I'm trying to get the notifications, right? Because other people I got the notifications from the other people posting in the thread. Hit the notifications, and it wouldn't take me anywhere. I'm sitting there, what the heck? I go back into the main video, search out it. He deleted the entire thread. Yeah, that's genius, all right. Friggin' clown.
I mentioned that.
4911, Raleigh criterion nonsense. So you think the Raleigh criterion, the diffraction limit, is nonsense, Timmy? Really? That's quite interesting. You mentioned Nathan's name. This is a flat Earth or an Earth curve, an Earth curve presentation, right? You mentioned Nathan's name 13 friggin' times, my name 5 times. You charge Anthony Riley with trolling, yet refer to yourself as a professional troll. I mean, which is just stupid. Then you mentioned Rob Skiba, Jay Tolan, Jan Alfredo, Justin Wiki, Jared, Glowbusters Bob, Soundly Bob the Science Guy. I was going to put the numbers in here of the number of times you mentioned them, but I thought it was just overkill. You were obsessed with the two $20,000 GPS units. Does the cost prove the spinning ball, Timmy? You mentioned experiment 6 times when you don't know what one is. You also said at 126.32, compared to a person like myself who has done multiple tests and observations and experiments, right? Well, number one, tests are experiments, you half-wit. And you have demonstrated for years that you don't even know what a scientific experiment is. So I don't know what the hell you're talking about. You didn't post any experiments in your presentation here, that's for sure. So like I said, the Earth curvature presentation check these out. Gulf of Tonkin, 9/11, Buffalo, Nats, Mormon Building, your sandals. Hey, can you show those ankles? Angular size of the sun 3 times. When challenged as to why you brought that up, you respond at 133.01. It's very simple if you actually open your ears. Wow, what a response that was. It was riveting. Meticulous attention to detail. Excruciating attention to detail. OCD-like is your mantra. 2 celestial points 3 times. For what? Watching YouTube videos, conspiracy 9 times, and how long you been here. Solar and lunar eclipses, the equinox observation, fluoride in water, and flat earthers 17 friggin' times, all stereotype fallacies. All of them. 916, I may be so bold to actually say experiment across the Bonneville sulfides. Like, yeah, you just say it. It's not a scientific experiment. You identify the hypothesis, independent, dependent control variables, because you don't know what a scientific experiment is. 1343, these buildings are actually being obstructed. But as far as the Mormon building here, half the building is being obstructed by what flat earth is called flat water, whatever the hell that means. And like I said, this place is extremely level. Well, Timmy, level is flat. Newsflash. Reification fallacy 2, by what flat earth is called flat water. That doesn't, I should have put a non sequitur fallacy. It's 89 fallacies. A lot of these observations are done from the Antelope Island Causeway. That's great. Observing natural phenomena are merely the first step of the scientific method. You didn't state one, and you never stated a single hypothesis in your entire presentation. Ergo, your observations, along with the accompanying just so story, your just so story take, are absolutely worthless. Right? Let's take a look at those. I was just looking at your little Antelope Island nonsense. Where'd you go? See, I did this, so you didn't want to get into any details of your little Antelope Island. So I went and took a look. I tried to get as close as I could to what you had on the video. All right? So let's roll on over here to point K. This is where you said you were about. Like I said, you weren't specific, so I got specific for you. So we got somewhere around 42, what do I have? 4206, saying 4205. You get the picture, though. 4205, 4206, right? That's point K. Let's go to point J. So we're going to go all the way over on this side, across the highway. I didn't go all the way to your buildings. We're going to go down here to point J, right? Right where it's about at the city limits right here, right before it gets to the Salt Lake. So what do we got right here? We got an elevation of 4225, 4226. So that's a 20-foot difference, 20 feet from point K back that away to point J. Do you see the problem here? Right? This is a 20-mile observation. How many feet drop should you have? Over 20 miles. Can anyone guess?
Absolute
How many
shed load.
feet drop over 20 miles should you have? That's vertical drop.
Go on.
I know the answer. It's 266 feet. You got 20. Where's the 240-foot drop here? That's what I want to know. Where'd that go? You're going to have to show 240 feet somewhere, right? Probably in your imagination, like everything else is. Let's see what else we got here. 37 miles from 1848. 37 miles of water that is basically completely level. There's really no other place that I've ever seen in my life that has these kind of conditions. Well, level's flat. So thanks a lot, Timmy. Thanks for confirming that for us. 1913, seeing white caps of mountains as clear as day from nearly 84, probably about 70 miles on those, but this is something you just wouldn't expect on a flat earth. Really? Why? You didn't tell us why. Did you forget posting the reason? You just make a declaration and that's it. Unbelievable. 1926. So in comparison to near the ground, there's a little bit of kind of mirroring and a little bit of haziness, but really not really. But really not really. You want to try that one again? Non sequitur fallacy doublespeak. 1954. So the important thing is to basically repeat these tests, these observations. So you think tests are observations, huh? What's your independent variable? Your frigging eyelids? Or your imagination? Or a combination of the two? Number one, tests are experiments. Observations are not experiments. Number two, the repeatability part of the empirical scientific method is context with the experiment, not the observed phenomenon. You don't keep on opening up your eyelids and looking to be repeated, clown. Number three, you didn't have an observed phenomenon. Here, all you had was an observation of a concrete noun, white caps, not scientific. 2027, these observations, in my opinion, kill the flat earth, and it actually has a lot of flat earthers making excuses. Really? We're not interested in your opinion, Timmy. Not from professional trolls. Number two, observations with an accompanying just so story are absolutely worthless. And stereotype fallacy with the invariable baseless assertion fallacy with a cherry on top ad hom. These usually go in, they're usually kissing sisters. You could substitute straw man for ad hom. It just depends on how you context and where you're headed. Yeah, we're up to 86 different excuses now. Yeah, they're not excuses. They're actual reasons. So
okay, hold on. I just want to bring that up on screen. So I saw where you were going and brought it up in advance, right? So, yeah, he's got this great big long list. I thought it was some other dudes. But basically, these are all the things that get called Earth curve. Every single thing on this list will be changed into the single assertion made by the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. So it's not a list of flat earthers' excuses, it's a list of things that will get reified into Earth curve, the single assertion made by the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator. So number one on his list is perspective. It's like, oh right, so the picture he goes on to show, like moments later, absolutely includes perspective, and as does every single picture ever taken by any camera ever, every single video recorded in history ever, every single image taken in by every eyeball ever will include perspective. And yet, later on he goes on about bloody, I can't remember how I phrased it, something about we must use orthographic view. I'm like, yeah, you're bloody right, you'll have to use orthographic view, because you're going to be putting it in Muppet Vision and taking away the very nature of the picture itself, the perspective, and it's number one on their bloody list. So it's alright to call it Earth curve, but you can be damn sure that every single one of those 38 things on that list, or however many he said, is going to be called Earth curve. That was one of the main points I was going to focus on, but so far, John, I've got to be honest, you're absolutely blown what I did out of the water, so Ranty's going to be getting this.
So like, yeah, he has 86 of them, right? They're all nonsense. I don't know why they even trouble themselves with it, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just trying to make light of the situation, and it's fallen on deaf ears, folks. 2229, you can only see the horizon at a certain distance, and when you start to rise up, you start to see further and further of that horizon. That's why the sun actually sets without changing angular size throughout the day. These things are pretty intuitive. Truthfully, unless you're having issues with conspiracy and want to believe or you want to be part of a gang or whatever, this is just a simple non sequitur fallacy. It has nothing absolutely to do with the sun changing angular size. We might put that in Ballbusters again, because he's stuck with that stupid argument. And of course, your family-friendly add-on fallacy times two, right?
Just before you move on, so let's see if I can do this first time. It's the question they formulate if you rearrange the words into their actual meanings. So why does the not actual apparent size in brackets size of the sun not change its not actual again in brackets angular size as it moves from its not actual position?
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. What a joke that is, man. Yeah, you got it. 2411. One doesn't negate the fact, with all of my observations, it doesn't negate the fact that there's two celestial points. Timmy, you weren't talking about the stars in this presentation. Ergo, non sequitur fallacy. It doesn't follow. You're out of context. And aren't there quite a few more, like trillions of celestial points? Unbelievable. 2446. One of the most beautiful days ever, actually. I protest. I say June 1st, 1978 was the most beautiful days ever. Unbelievable. 2456. Seeing Strong's Knob, this is a actual place, so I didn't capitalize it. Sorry about that. Start to be obstructed by what is called flat water. And to me, flat water, looking above the flat water, and if you think about it orthographically, in other words, Muppet vision, even though that's kind of like heresy to some people, you would expect to see the whole thing, and we don't near the ground. Oh, I wonder why.
Can I interrupt again here? You've just got
Sure.
shaking my fucking head. Right. So we've got, where shall I start from? No flat water, looking above the flat water. Okay. And if you think about it orthographically, even though that's kind of like heresy to some people. Right. Heresy to quantify this, which is absolutely a perspective view, with Muppet vision, where, and for your audience members that don't know what we're talking about when we say Muppet vision, when he says orthographic, what he means is you'll have a picture of an observer here on the left-hand side, and you'll have the target, the mountain, on the right-hand side, and it's quantified in feet and inches. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that we're looking at a building that's 12 feet. It's twice the size of the man. So if you move that 12 feet closer, it's still going to say the same size in its representation. So it doesn't matter if it's here or here or here, it's still the same size. And in the picture, you see the side of your own head, Muppet vision. So while seeing the side of your own head and describing things in their actual sizes, as you move them around, you can move them indefinitely. It'll still say the same size, which means that you've effectively removed all aspects of perspective when you talk orthographically, because a 10-foot wall is still going to be representative as a 10-foot wall if the scale on my left to right on the screen now, if this is a line that you're drawing your observation on with you on the left and the observation point on the right, well, it doesn't matter if you make that scale 1 mile, or you make this scale 100 miles, or you make this scale 1 million miles, you'll still have the observer and the observed in the same frame with the same scale, and you can still see them. You can still draw a line between the two things. And that's precisely what they do in the calculator. They remove all aspects of perspective by putting it in an orthographic view. So it's not heresy. It's just not how we see the world. We see perspective. The mathematics takes the effect of perspective, objects getting smaller until they disappear, and calls it Earth curve. So it's heresy, if you like, because it's not real. Sorry to babble on over your very hard work.
No, keep going. You could stop me whenever. In fact, I'm going to stop after each one to see if you already see what your take is. So 2539, we've actually done modeling of my observations. Walter Bislin, thankfully, has done really good modeling of my observations, what it would look like on a globe Earth and what it would look like on a flat Earth. And you can actually mess around with the fraction on this. I mean, this guy is an absolute amazing modeler. And so much so, he actually made a model of the flat Earth. It's called the Flat Earth Dome model. Simply a reification model. That's just as simple as that. We've already went over Walter Bislin. He's just a fraud and a moron, deleting his threads. Anything on that?
Yeah, it's just reification all over the place. They love their models. Everything's got to be what it compares to their model when we don't live on a model. Just look up reification fallacy. That's what they're doing. We don't live on a model. The map is not the terrain. It's nonsense. It's pseudoscience. It's definitely not proving where we live. In fact, it proves absolutely nothing. It demonstrates that they can beg the question and assume their outcome, because when they're comparing their quote-unquote model to reality, they're removing perspective, assuming an R value, and the outcome's always in their favour. It's an Earth curve calculator. It's a model that begs the question. You're always going to start any argument with a globe head on a sphere, essentially begging the question, starting with the outcome already in place. And the calculator's absolutely no different. Walter Bislin's got an R value, radius, Earth radius. He already knows the outcome. How's he going to be proving anything when he already has the outcome in his calculator? Well, he isn't. He's just begging the question.
Precisely. 2627, because it is the best model and best explanation for how the things in the sky, as far as the sun and moon, would work. Again, another reification fallacy. Number 2, non sequitur fallacy. Again, Timmy Clown, your presentation is on Earth curvature, not the sun and the moon. Anything there?
Not really. I mean, yeah, he went on about antipodal star rotation and celestial points, and I didn't really pick up on that. But you're right. Yeah, it was supposed to be demonstrating Earth curve, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what the presentation's about. 2721. I can't see the bottoms of the buildings. I can't see I-5. I can't see so much that, in my opinion, until better evidence is out, should be seen. It really should be seen. This should not be happening on a flat Earth. Number 1, why can't they be seen? You didn't say so. Then scientifically validate it, because you keep saying curve, which is a cause and effect of the unseen, right? So you got to validate this, man. You just can't tell us. You just can't give us your just so story. It's worthless. Number 2, like I said, we don't care about your fuckwit opinion, or anyone's opinion for that matter. Number 3, observations alone, they're not evidence. Anything there?
Yeah, it's bloody all we ever get. We get essentially pseudo-hypothesis, an assertion of a presupposed cause, but declared as the cause. So they've not validated it, they've not put it through the scientific method, they've not wiggled anything. They've just made an observation and made a declaration and asserted cause. And there's a method for that. Yeah, the method that he babbled on about when he kept on saying that he knows about experiments and knows about science, which he absolutely does not. He hasn't got the vaguest clue. But he's talking about cause and effect relationships based on observation, just so stories.
Yep. He's not the only one. Got a whole slew of them. So 2825, I put his collage of pictures from Salt Lake. I figured you had that covered. You know, the typical thing he brings with him. It's tied to his friggin' heels, like the counterclockwise and clockwise star rotation, right? Right. I figured you dealt with that.
Well, this is it. This is going to be what gets submitted to Ranty. So I'm recording this, and this is what Ranty gets, whether he likes it or not. You've done a lot more work than I have, and I'm not going to let a good presentation that's been thoroughly gone through go to waste. Why would I? I mean, mine will get dusted under the mat, never to be spoken about.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like I said, I didn't pull up his collage or pictures. Everyone's familiar with what he brings with him. Little organ grinder and his monkey. I mean, we've been all over those photos before. In fact, I just crushed it with the elevation from Google Earth. Right? We just crushed those into the incoherent oblivion. So 2854, in my opinion, people say that they're truth seekers, but really what they're trying to do is seek for excuses to continue their bias, their conspiratorial bias, a narrative of a flat earth. And I think it's really intellectually dishonest that they can see things and not actually say, well, perhaps it could be curvature. Well, again, we don't care about your retard opinion. 2, appeal to intent motive fallacy. 3, 2 baseless ipsy-dixit bare assertion fallacies. 4, 3 ad hom fallacies. Right in here. Unbelievable. Anything there? Sorry.
Yeah, it's the same old story, isn't it? He's asserting cause or implying it, or how is he even? He's saying that we should be inferring his begging the question fallacy. It's so convoluted, but what he's basically saying is you should assume it's cause that I assume it is, and then declare it is when I haven't validated it. You should be doing that also, is what he's saying. Let's have another read. What does he say? Dishonest that they see things and not actually say, well, perhaps it could be curvature. Well, yeah, that's a supposition, isn't it? A supposition like in a hypothesis. But the problem with that is that you have to go forward and actually validate that what you suppose causes it. Yeah, well, perhaps it could be. Now you want to validate that shit. Don't just suppose it and then declare it as it being right. That. And then moan at me because I haven't presupposed it like you have, you fundy.
Exactly. 2922, it can be modeled and matches the globe Earth perfectly. Guess what this is? Well, it's a reification combined with begging the question fallacies, right? Because you have yet to prove this, and this is a reification fallacy. Simple. Anything there? Too easy. 10. Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll interrupt when I've got something.
Okay. 3010. You're going to get a little bit of inferior mirage in here. In here, it looks like a little bit of mirroring, but the fact still remains that you can't see the bottom of the buildings. And that's a big deal for me as far as me going out and actually testing these things. Well, you haven't tested a damn thing. You just looked at it and declared it. Duh. Same old stuff. 3051, I just don't see much of a conspiracy really to be had as far as cui bono in this whole thing. Again, Timmy, your presentation is on Earth curvature, not conspiracies. Ergo, another non sequitur fallacy just doesn't follow. I mean, if you don't know what cui bono, what the particulars of this is, then I don't know. I can't help you. 3125, some of the globe cucks that will say, well, there's got to be 1 million people in on this conspiracy. Well, no. You know, if the mathematics was right, and you could have perhaps a few thousand people that would know it to a full extent. But really, it's so hard at this point for me to believe that the flat Earth has any merit at all. Again, your presentation is on Earth curvature, Timmy Clown, not conspiracies, another non sequitur fallacy. And I want to see these conspiracy mathematics. That's what I want to see. Is this a special category of mathematics? Maybe more than two mathematicians get involved here? Make it conspiracy? Huh? Number 3, we don't care about the friggin' beliefs of demonstrated imbecile. You. Anything? 128.12. What does work geometrically are the curve calculators. Yeah. You want any of this?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just bullshit. It's again back to him asserting that we've got to be in Muppet vision. So your geometric, perspective hijacking, proof of nothing, begging the question curve calculator. It's got an R value. It already knows the outcome. Therefore, it's absolutely proving nothing. It's perspective hijacking. Oh, well, it's heresy to say that we should see the side of our own bloody head when we don't in a picture. Yeah, that's what your geometric calculators are relying on. Removing all aspects of perspective. Yeah, heresy, right, Tim? Yeah, no, just not reality. So your geometric calculator that assumes its outcome and already has an R value ain't proving anything. It's just a reification fallacy and a hijacking of the actual reality that we see. We do see perspective. Yet it's number one on their list of our excuses for why things disappear in the distance. Oh yeah, because your single cause curve calculator's only got one thing to say about it, hasn't it? Earth curve. Oh right, it's a bit of a foggy day. No, Earth curve. Oh well, it could be too far to see. It could be too small. Earth curve. Yeah, that's the only cause it can ever assert. So what your geometric calculator says is that perspective isn't real. That you see the side of your own head. So that's all I've got to say about that.
That's all you need to say about that. In fact, you said too much. Everything after laughing out loud. 128.58. We are the people that actually go and spend money and go and do these observations. And then when somebody comes in and says, oh, you're begging the question, like, no, actually, I try to demonstrate how we tested the supposed presupposition, and you just won't have it because you're thick or something. Number one, you haven't conducted a single test. Duh, clown. My word. And, you know, your cherry on top ad hom fallacy.
Yeah, I've got something to add to that as well. So I'm sick of this. Test is contextualized. If he's talking science, which he bloody is, he's declaring how he knows experiments and that he's doing tests. Yeah, tests in this context means experiment, hypothesis test. Now you've got hypothesis, but they're just so stories that come with an assertion at the end. Your test is an observation that you've made. That's what you call a test. It's yet another greasing of the skids of scientific vernacular. A test, in this circumstance, when you're claiming to be scientific, is a bloody experiment. It's not you opening the shutter on a camera or flying a drone for a day.
129.48. People like, and I'll share my screen really quick. People like Jay Tollin here who have the tip of a mountain at 123 miles away, and 6,000 feet of this mountain is being, I think, obstructed. I didn't get the last part of that. I don't have the photo. We had the photo the other day. I think we were on there with Zanuck. He was using the same photo and trying to say the same thing.
Does he show it on the stream?
Yes.
What is it, 128?
It's 129.48.
Yeah, I've got it up. Oh, it's giving me an ad. That's Ranty. Sorry, Ranty. I'm gonna have to skip your ad, I'm afraid, Ranty. Okay, so yeah, I've got it up on screen now. Behold the flat Earth, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. You can see the city below it, right? I can't see the picture in here.
Yeah, I've got it up with the city below.
Why don't you take over? I can't see it.
Well, okay, so yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, if you're claiming there's a certain amount of the mountain missing at the bottom, well, you can see the city. What bloody hell's it going on about? Not only that, if I put your screen back up again, let's just get rid of this. You've got it in the measurements. So he's saying exactly as I described earlier when I was trying to describe Muppet vision. The quantification is always going to be given in feet and inches, what I would call whole numbers, but actual sizes. Well, the actual size, 6,000 feet in this instance, is a number that doesn't change at any distance. So 6,000 feet. If you were at the base of the mountain, you could be looking up at the top of the 6,000 feet, right? But as it gets further and further and further away, its angular size reduces. Something that they exclude when they go into orthographic view. Or heresy, as Tim Ossman seems to think we think it is. Well, no, it just misrepresents how you actually see things. This 6,000 feet he's claiming missing is an angular size depending on its distance. It's not an actual size that you see things in photographs. You see them represented by their not actual size. Angular size. It's relative to its distance, and it will get smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappears from the bottom first based on the most limited angle. There we go. That's my waffle.
Precisely. Exactly. 133.16. There's geometry to the Earth other than flat, and it's and it's curved downwards away from you, and it's very evident in all of my evidence when it comes to the drone and camera photography. So you have evidence of 8 inches per mile squared vertical drop. Does the drone and camera have a built-in dropometer, Timmy? I mean, you're just making a declaration here. There's nothing here. There's no substance whatsoever. You're like a priest. (133.47). Einstein said this, or second law of thermodynamics, this definition says this. All of where they're actually quoting from are from Sphere Earth people, so they just try to cherry pick stuff to try to fit their narrative, right? Number one, it's citing from, not just quoting. All these knuckleheads don't know the difference between citations, quotes, references. They have big problems there. Number two, the beliefs of people, that is Spare Earth, Democrat, Republican, favorite ice creams, etc., have absolutely nothing to do with what recognized secular scientists, that's alleged, have demonstrated and documented. Duh. Number three, it's quite apparent that the power of hostile witnesses is completely lost on you, isn't it? Number four, here we go, generalized, sweeping, baseless assertion, cherry picking, and you don't even know what it is and means. Anything with that?
Yeah. So you gave an example about this ages ago, which was about a court case, and the murderer is locked up in his cell in the police station, and he's got a pen and a piece of paper. It's an unlikely scenario. But anyway, he's writing down his diaries and his notes, and he's scribbling there for day after day after day while he's waiting for his trial. And one day, a guard comes in and takes the notepad off him, and they read through it, and when they get to about page 7, they read a full confession of how he did the murders in detail, and it matches every single shred of forensic evidence that they've got perfectly. So there's no gaps in any of the evidence anymore, and there's even a few little teasers that they didn't know about that they go and find because of this confession. They flick forward to page 40, and he starts telling on page 40 about how he is actually a spaghetti monster, and that he will slip through the bars if he's ever locked up, or turn into a vapour and escape instantly if they don't keep him in a certain type of cell. So by their standards, the Globeheads, they would declare that because in the same reference, the person's declaring that they're a spaghetti monster that can turn into gas and escape from any jail cell, that is ultimately true because part of the citation was also specifically correct in that regard.
Yeah, that went a little bit off the reservation in my example, but yeah, it's somewhat like that. It's friggin' stupid. More or less that he wrote down, let's say he killed 12 people, and he wrote down every single murder, details everything, matches all, like you said, matches all the forensic evidence. But on page, 3, 7, and 10, at the bottom, he says, I am innocent. Right?
That was it. So that smiles better. I couldn't remember the punchline. Terrible. So yeah, exactly. In page 10, he says, "I didn't do any of these crimes. I was actually in Barbados. I'd taken a flight there."
That's right. So the judge will not allow the prosecutor to question him anymore, because the prosecutor must take the "I am innocent" with the entire reference, right? Not with your citations in the forward, but since you read it, since it's in that same citation, the case against him is dropped. The prosecutor must believe that he's innocent. That's how stupid this is. I mean, high school. I already know as soon as anyone brings this topic up, right? I already know two things. Number one, they haven't recently graduated high school, or it could be number two, they never attended university ever. They've never reviewed scientific literature. They've never done a research study themselves. It's those two choices. You just hammer yourself in the head with a friggin' shovel. And you don't realize it. I love it. I love it when you keep doing it. Please keep doing it. Try to figure out what the difference is between citations and references. Okay? Freaking clowns, man. 134.06. If the Earth isn't spinning and it's geocentric, which I still hold perhaps a 5% chance, well, then it's still a sphere, dude. Really? This is a non sequitur fallacy from the Black Lagoon. The premise doesn't follow, or the conclusion doesn't follow from its premise in any way, shape, or form. Show empirically how you reached the 5% chance. I want to see that. Of course, you don't know what empirical is either. You think empirical means observation. You understand that they're two different words, right? Empirical and observation. Empirical goes a little bit further. In fact, it summarizes the scientific method. To be empirical, you must observe it, so you're right. But then there's three other ones. You know what those three other ones are? Repeatability, testability, falsifiability. That's what empirical means. I must have told you this like 50 times over the past 3 years, but nope. You still on that same, but it's empirical. I observed it. P.S. You don't understand that the scientific method doesn't deal with probabilities. That's induction. 1 iota, right? Obviously rhetorical.
It's also just a down and right, clumsy, begging the question fallacy. So saying if the Earth isn't a spinning geocentric, is that how he said it? Which I still hold perhaps 5% chance, then it's still a dude. Then it's still a sphere, dude. Well, what you're saying is if Earth, which you're automatically dictating to us in this statement, is spherical, but it just doesn't spin, then it's still a spherical. It's also, isn't it also a clumsy affirming the consequent?
It's a begging the question fallacy. That's
It's definitely a begging the question fallacy. It's not really. It's not formalised well with the negatives in there for isn't spinning,
yes.
but nevertheless, it's halfway there to being affirming the consequent. It isn't, but it's definitely a clumsy begging the question fallacy. Just it proves bugger all other than he can assume his outcome.
Yes. So we're up to 90 fallacies, right? We were at 88. You just pointed out two more. One previously and then that one. Yep. So we're up to 90 when we get there. I love this one. I think this is the one. Yeah. 138.15. A lot of very ignorant people have fallen for the flat earth. Really? Well, let's take a look at some of the globe-tard people. Brenda, observation, shoe. Hypothesis, it's a shoe. The rumpus, air is not the atmosphere. George, yeah. A closed thermos is an open system. Steve McRae, the speed of sound in a vacuum is constant. Miles Davis, your argument can be dishonest without having the intention to deceive. Phil Nye, the physics guy, the physical sciences don't care about the natural world. Sly Sparkane, my physics experiment was blind. Conspiracy cats, the second law of thermodynamics is about the movement of energy, not the movement of matter. So what do you call this? Is this the Rhodes Scholars? Unbelievable. Anything here?
Just great. I had to mute while I chuckled.
Which one?
Mostly Brenda, but air is not the atmosphere is priceless. George Netanyahu, a closed thermos is an open system. I remember him saying that to me. I didn't hear Steve's one, but they still argue that, right? When you bring up Steve McRae, the speed of sound is constant in a vacuum. You know what their response to that is? Yeah, it's zero.
It's constantly zero.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Like his IQ. Unbelievable, man. Yeah. I don't want to pick a favorite because they're all equally stupefying. But Phil Nye, the physical sciences don't care about the natural world.
What's another word for the physical sciences? What would that be? Natural science.
Now, the reason why it's so good is because he's a self-professed PhD in physics. This bonehead. That's why I kind of lean more towards that one. But just remember, a lot of very ignorant people have fallen for the flat earth. And Timmy, we could add you here. I could put any of the number of comments I already went over, but I thought that it would be painfully redundant.
That'd be moot.
It's moot. No, it's mute. M-U-T. Oh boy, memories. So 135.25. These people are primarily watching YouTube videos. So, number one, stereotype fallacy, which invariably leads to a generalized, sweeping, ipsy-dixit, baseless, bare assertion fallacy, and the straw man. So, you, like Gem Panda, are diviners of complete unnamed strangers' behaviors? Have you considered carnival as a vocation yet, sir? I have an idea. Why don't you put together a traveling circus with all the usual suspects and go on tour? You can call it globe-tard spinning space monkeys against common sense and critical thought, with a cherry on top, how to sustain a below second grade level science acumen in the 21st century, all the while pretending to be Bill Nye's wee gimp. For the main event, perhaps you could troll people with girly ankles and show how they rotate clockwise and counterclockwise around two celestial points, save for sprains. For the after show, you and Mick West can guess people's weights, while you have Rumpus, a.k.a. Mr. Air is Not the Atmosphere, Sly, and Gem Panda bark for the Yak Woman and have Conspiracy Flaps be a pixie dust spreader for the Tilt-A-Whirl. Then for the finale, titled Be Kind to Dumb Animal Week, have Red's Rhetoric mount a hubbled pig in a mud-bogged pen wearing nothing but a purple tutu and have a blindfolded Sean, audio guy, in a chartreuse Speedo and halter top attempt to locate and catch the dynamic duo and remove the purple tutu from Red's torso. Each time it's successfully removed, have Jose J.G. Gonzalez release a jackrabbit with a can of butane duct taped to its back into the pen while Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, simultaneously releases 10 blue tick coonhounds into the crowd. Have the onlookers attempt to figure out who the dumb animal actually is. The winners get a Tickle Me Soundly doll that, when prodded, attempts to convince crayon munchers that they live on planet Orleans Parish and whispers inane instructions on how to square the circle in 10 different languages. For the finale, have Steve McClown of the Clan McClowns be the MC and hold rolling 6-hour carnival tent vigils for long-age, apatheistic, agnostic, theological non-cognitivists that try to ascertain or conjure what the definitive atheist actually is. How about that?
Epic.
So, let's change this. That's a 9-0 bagger right there. We'll have to adjust. It's one more begging the question fallacy. And I can't recall the other.
So we've got reification, 13 counts. Baseless assertion, 22 counts. Non sequitur fallacy, 9 counts. Intent motive fallacy, 2 counts. Strawman fallacy, 4 counts. Stereotyping fallacy, 12 counts. Ad hominems, 20 counts. Begging the question, 4 counts. And genetic fallacy, 3 counts. Tim Ossman guilty of 90 fallacies on Ranty's Roundtable.
It's roughly a fallacy a minute, right around there, because we got 90 fallacies. He didn't. It's right around 90 minutes that he spoke. You know, minus the music and Ranty speaking and all that nonsense. So roughly,
Amazing.
90 fallacies. We can go on. That's no problem. You think I'm just making this up? No. I can go. We have them documented. I got them documented and timestamped. So if you want to see them or hear them, no problem. Just get in touch with Nathan and I'll send them to you.
Just scroll through so that while I'm talking, because I just want to add something, because I was supposed to do this presentation and you've done 99% of the work, and this is definitely what Ranty's going to be getting, because it's, you know, miles better than I would ever done, and already I've spent more time on this than I would want to, and you've obviously gone through it with a fine-tooth comb and identified 90 fallacies, and it was just so much more than I could ever do. I know Ranty would have preferred if you weren't doing every other presentation, but so be it. You know, this stuff needs to be addressed, and if there's an issue with somebody being keen to actually address these in a substantial way, which I don't want to, I've got to be honest, I did want to address it until I saw the quantity quantity of it. And I was like, oh, this is really daunting. I haven't got time to do it. But for anybody who's moaning that you've done most of the work and they may have been led to be under the impression by Ranty or whoever that I was going to do this presentation, I'm going to give them a twofer. So I'm going to also debunk Gem Panda in one statement, just so it makes it fair and it rounds it up a little bit, right? So the medium that Gem Panda claimed the journey itself took place in cannot exist next to the gas pressure that we all experience on Earth. The medium is bunk. It violates several natural laws. You cannot have gas pressure next to the vacuum of the sky, otherwise known as outer space, which is where that journey, which he detailed, claims to have taken place. Ergo, the journey did not take place. Likewise, no journeys take place through wardrobe doors into Narnia. Narnia is not real. And the vacuum of the sky is not real because the gas would fill the space. Now, while I appreciate that wasn't a single statement, more like a paragraph, it still debunks Gem Panda in exactly the same way that Quantum Eraser did. And it does cut the legs off that entire argument. There is no need to detail why the gas lamp works in Narnia based on the time dilation that they have there. The medium itself is fake. And if you prove that the medium is fake, if the sky was a vacuum, the gas we all like breathing would fill that void because gas is expanding in all directions unless it presses upon the walls of a container. And if they are to assert that the medium they're travelling to, a light in the sky, is a vacuum, then everything they claim about that journey is immediately bunk. And about as nonsensical as the 90 logical fallacy used by Tim Ossman. There you go, that's my round out. 2 for 1, man. You can't say better than that, Ranty.
Yeah,